How much does it cost to renovate a small kitchen? A lot of times clients come to you and they're asking, well, how much would it cost to upgrade this kitchen? And let's focus on the small kitchens. So we're talking about less than a 10 by 10 kitchen. A lot of times if you go to the big box stores or the kitchen stores, you can ask, well, what's the average price for a 10 by 10 kitchen at this quality level or this quality level or this other quality level? 10 by 10 is kind of the standard format for figuring that out. But a lot of times in investment properties and condos downtown especially, you'll have a very small space. And so it'll be less than a 10 by 10. There may only be 3 base cabinets. So something for the sink, drawers, and one other cabinet space. And then on the top, you might have 4, maybe 5 upper cabinets. And so this is a very small space. And then of course you have your appliances. You may not even have a dishwasher, and the microwave might be on the counter or something that the tenants would provide themselves, and you don't even do over the range microwaves. So now how much would it cost for them to upgrade that? Very common question to at least have a ballpark estimate at the various price points for kitchens, how much it would cost to upgrade. So if we take a look at this, here's my challenge to you. I would say go to the big box stores, look at Home Depot, look at Lowe's, or other kitchen places. A lot of them have online things that you can do a designer and kind of figure out, well, here's your space, and measure out the cabinets and what you have, and then figure out how much it's going to cost for you to build out a new kitchen. If you're going to do new cabinets in these stores as well, you can add them to your shopping cart. There are stock cabinets at these big box stores where you can buy right off the shelves. And so Home Depot's got 2 different types of white cabinets. They have a gray one, they have a natural one that needs to be stained, and a hickory one at the moment. So there's a couple of different options that you can look at least for the base price cost. And then it's the cost of the actual cabinets as well as labor, and then the appliances. And so now we're looking at, well, what is it going to cost for those cabinets? And how much is each cabinet? Do you even know? Like, how much do they run? And so there's different types of cabinets too. So if we're looking at a very basic, cheap kitchen, we just want to upgrade with new stuff, and we're not worried about the highest quality. Boxes may not be made out of wood, it's plywood or something else that's a bit cheaper, as well as the cabinet faces and the doors. And so that's something to know, and that's what keeps the cost down. So put this all into a Google spreadsheet with links to the Home Depot or Lowe's product, the actual cabinets themselves, so that they can see this is where I'm coming up with some kind of estimate. Make sure you include tax. So if you don't know your tax rate, if you go through a shopping cart in the big box stores, get to the end where you want to check out, you can see then how much tax is also included on top of that. Then you have to figure out labor. So go talk to the big box stores if they install, if it's off the shelf cabinetry, they may not have an installer. They might recommend you go find a contractor who can do the work for you. Find out how much is it for contractors to do this work. They might charge per hour. Like right now around here, it's $75 per hour. It's pretty typical. Some will charge per cabinet. So I know Home Depot will charge per cabinet. They have a specific cost for each cabinet to be installed. Then do the same thing for your appliances. There are package deals, but also look and get a feel for what do they cost, especially for a small kitchen. What's interesting here is I have a rental where that's a smaller fridge and it wasn't keeping cold. So I had someone come and do a diagnostic on it. Well, it turns out the diagnostic for him to come out was like $75, and then for him to do a full proper diagnostic was going to cost $175, and that doesn't even include the cost of fixing it. And then he had to come back out again, which is a $75 service call fee. I was like, oh my God, this is going to cost $400. Well, it turns out those size fridges, because it's a tiny, small 475 square foot condo, my fridge in there, a brand new fridge for that size only cost $400. There was no sense in doing a repair. It makes much more sense for me to just buy a new one if it's going to break. That's interesting to know that those smaller fridges are only $400. Now, what's interesting as well is that when you have such a small space, my stove and my dishwasher is not a standard size. They are smaller than standard. So when it's not a mass market product, it all of a sudden costs more. So find out that, because that also changes things when you do your estimates for people. Now there's more to doing the kitchen renovation than just appliances and cabinets. You also have countertops, and that could be a very big expense. If you're going to use granite or quartz or marble or something fancy, that cost is going to go way up to $3,000, $4,000. Now, that might be worth the investment. Laminate is typical, the cheap product, so in certain locations and markets, that would totally make sense. You can get some really beautiful custom laminates with these beautiful looks to them. But I always like to upgrade a little bit so that my tenants are really happy, and looks high-end and posh. So I do stainless steel appliances, and I like quartz countertops because the maintenance is so low. For your countertops, one of the secrets is to go to a local fabricator and see if they have any scraps that are going to fit the size that you need. And there's other things to think about, like the sink. Don't forget about the kitchen sink. And then you have a faucet. And you probably need some new water lines to attach the faucet to the water line. And if you're going to tile the walls, now you've got tile, which can be very expensive if you get picky. I would recommend something simple like Subway. That tends to be classic through the ages. But you also need the stuff to stick it to the wall. Plus, you're going to have to buy grout. And if you're going to hire a tiler, they can be a little bit more expensive. Or a contractor to do the work and the time it takes to do it, because it tends to require at least 2 days to apply each layer. There may also be paint involved, and remember delivery charges that you may have to pay for. And then what about the haul-away? Now this doesn't include doing the floors and the lights, so if there's additional work to be done, you got to calculate that into it as well. Okay, so let's say we got cabinets for $2,000. Labor is going to be $2,000. We've got appliances for roughly $2,000. The sink and the faucet, we'll say $500. Countertop, maybe $1,500. And a backsplash for $1,000. So now we're at $9,000. Now, of course, if you watched any of HGTV's home improvement, you always know that to have a buffer because there's something that could go wrong. So when I'm talking to my client, I can say, all right, well, it's about $10,000 for doing the small kitchen that you have. So estimate that would be at the lowest end. If you know your client's more prone to higher upgrades or want soft close doors or some fancier things, make your estimate a little bit higher, so it's around $15,000. And whenever you're giving estimates to your clients, make sure you say, look, I am not an expert in this field. This is just a rough estimate. I just went through. Here's what you could do if you went to the big box store, bought everything right off the shelf, and an estimate based on that. And here are all the links to where I got that estimate from. But always check out in more detail and remind them that prices will change. This estimate was based on keeping everything the way it is. So if the client is thinking of moving the kitchen sink to another location or to an island, you got a whole nother set of costs involved. So that is a whole nother game that's not in this quote. If you like this content, please support me and subscribe to my channel.